Everyone believes they already know why Japanese people live so long and stay so strong so late into life. They will tell you it is the fish, or the rice, or the green tea. And if not the food, then surely the genes. That the Japanese were simply born lucky, and the rest of the world was not. After more than 70 years of living, I am here to tell you, gently, that they are wrong. It is not mainly the diet, and it is not the genes. The real reason is something so ordinary, so quiet, that most of the modern world has thrown it away without ever once noticing that it was the very thing holding them upright. Let me show you what I mean. Near my home, there is a woman of 82. She has never set foot in a gym. She has never followed an exercise program in her life, not for a single day. And yet, every morning she walks to the market, carries her basket up 2 flights of stairs, and then bends down to sweep the stone step outside her door. She will, in all likelihood, stay strong and live in her own home long after most people her age in the West have had to give that up. Today, I am going to tell you exactly what she is doing and what you are not. Why almost everyone misses it, even the clever people, even the experts. And the small, almost invisible way that you can begin to bring it back into your own life, starting today, whatever your age. Stay with me to the end, because the part that matters most, the part you can actually use, comes near the close. So, let us begin with the 2 answers everyone reaches for, and why neither of them is the true one. First, the food. Yes, the traditional Japanese table is a good one. Fish, rice, vegetables, soup, very little that is heavy or fried. I will not pretend it does not matter. Of course it does. But here is the trouble. Diet can explain a great many things, but it cannot, by itself, explain strength. It cannot explain why a woman of 80 can rise from the floor without using her hands, carry her own shopping, and climb her own stairs. You can eat the most perfect bowl of fish and rice every day of your life, and if you spend the rest of that day sitting in a chair, your legs will still grow weak beneath you. The body does not keep what it does not use, no matter how well you feed it. So the food is part of the story, but it is not the heart of it. And then, the genes. This is the answer people love the most, because it asks nothing of them. If it is all in the blood, then there is nothing to be done, and nothing to feel guilty about. But the genes give us the clearest clue of all that this is not the answer. Because we have seen, many times over, what happens when Japanese families leave Japan. When they move abroad into a different kind of life, the car, the desk, the convenient, comfortable, seated life of the modern West, something changes. Within a single generation, that famous strength and that long good health begins to fade. The children and the grandchildren come to resemble the people around them, not the grandparents they left behind. And listen closely. The genes had not changed at all. Only the living had. The very same blood, placed inside a different way of life, gave a different result. If it were truly the genes, the ocean would not have mattered. But it did. So it was never the genes. It was the life. Which brings us, at last, to the real reason. And I must warn you, it is so simple that you may feel almost cheated when you hear it. It is this. Japanese elders stay strong because they never stop moving. Not in great bursts, not in a gym, but gently, constantly, all day long. Movement woven into the very cloth of an ordinary day, from the moment they rise until the moment they sleep. My own grandmother had a saying for it. She said the body is like the hinge of a door. The door you open and close every single day stays smooth and quiet for 50 years. But the door that is never touched, that one rusts shut. She was not quoting any study. She simply lived in a place and among people who never stopped moving, and who stayed strong long after the world expected them to slow down and sit. Now, I want to be honest with you, because honesty is the whole point of these quiet talks of ours. What I am sharing is something researchers see again and again in Japan and in many other places. That the people who keep moving gently through the day tend to stay stronger and more capable as they age. But it is a link that they see, not a promise, and not a cure for anything at all. Life is far larger than any single habit, and I will never tell you otherwise. Please, speak with your own doctor about your own body and what is right for it. I am only an old woman sharing the way that I was raised. But it is a way worth understanding. So let me explain why it works, and then how the modern world quietly took it away from you. The secret is held in a single word: frequency. Not how hard you move, but how often. Picture two people. The first sits all day at a desk, drives everywhere, takes the lift to every floor, and then, feeling a little guilty, goes to the gym for 1 hard hour 3 times a week. The second never exercises at all, but is up and down all day long, walking to the shop, climbing the stairs, kneeling in the garden, carrying, sweeping, rising and sitting and rising again. And here is the part that surprises everyone. It is very often the second person whose body stays strong the longest. 1 hard hour cannot undo the long, still hours of a seated day. The body listens less to the single grand effort and far more to the question it is asked all day long: are we moving or are we still? Japan, more than almost anywhere on earth, kept asking the body to move. The West, slowly and sweetly, stopped. And how did the West lose it? Not through laziness. I want to be very clear about that. Nobody chose this. It was sold to you, a little at a time, and always with a smile, and always beneath one beautiful word: convenience. Think of all the movement that has been quietly removed from your day and what replaced it. Once you walked to the market most days and carried your shopping home in your arms. Now a car takes you there once a week. Once you climbed the stairs. Now there is a lift and an escalator standing beside it. Once you rose from your chair to change the television, to answer the telephone, to fetch a thing from across the room. Now everything comes to your hand and you need not rise at all. Once the work of the home, the sweeping, the scrubbing, the wringing of the wash by hand, kept a body moving for hours. Now a machine does each of these, and we are told that this is a gift. And do you see the trick of it? Each of these was sold to you as progress, as a kindness, a saving of your precious effort. But what was that effort truly? It was the very movement that kept you strong. They did not save your effort. They took your strength and they charged you for the taking. And then, here is the cruelest part of all. Once they had removed the movement from your daily life, they sold it back to you, as a gym membership, as a machine for the spare room, as a class you must climb into the car and drive to. They took the free movement out of your day with one hand and sold you a poor and costly copy of it with the other. The West did not grow weak by accident. It was very gently made that way. And nowhere is this clearer than in a single number you have seen 1,000 times, on your watch, on your telephone, glowing up at you each evening. 10,000 steps. It feels official, does it not? As though it came down from some great laboratory of science. So let me tell you where it truly came from. And it is, I am a little sorry to say, a Japanese story. In the year 1965, a Japanese company made one of the first step counters to sell to ordinary people. They needed a name for it, and they called it the Manpo-kei, which means, very simply, the 10,000 step meter. They chose 10,000 partly because it is a fine, round, satisfying number, and partly because the Japanese character for 10,000 looks a little like a person walking. It was a name. It was an advertisement. It was never the result of any study, any trial, any science whatsoever. And yet, for 60 years, millions of people the world over have chased that number and felt themselves to have failed on the evenings they did not reach it. When researchers did at last go looking at what the walking truly does for older bodies, they found that the good of it rises the more you walk, yes, but that for people in their later years, a great deal of the benefit is already there, far below that magic figure. You do not need 10,000. You never did. And notice, please notice, what those steps really are for the people who gather them without trying. They are not a march upon a treadmill. They are the walk to the shop, the trip to the station, the stairs, the errand done on foot. They are simply the small distances of an ordinary day. Exactly the movement that woman near my home gathers up each morning without ever once calling it exercise. If you are finding this worth your while, would you do me the small kindness of tapping the little heart just below? It is how these quiet videos find their way to other people who might need to hear them. Thank you, truly. Now, let me walk you through an ordinary day for an old person in Japan, so that you can see the movement that is hidden inside it. Come with me through her morning. She wakes, and she does not lie in bed. She rises, and she folds away her futon and lifts it into the cupboard. A small bend and a small carry before she has even had her tea. In many neighborhoods, at 6:30 in the morning, a piece of music begins to play. The very same music that has played for nearly 100 years. And people come out, the old ones especially, into the parks and the small yards, and they do radio taiso. A few minutes of gentle stretching and reaching and bending together in the open air. It is not hard. A child can do it. But it wakes every joint in the body, and it has begun the Japanese day for generations. Then she walks to the market. Not once a week in a car, but most days on her own 2 feet, buying only what she needs for that day. She carries it home in her hands. She climbs her stairs. In her kitchen she stands to cook, and she bends to her low cupboards. And she sits very often, not in a great soft chair, but upon the floor at a low table. This is a quiet secret all of its own. For a person who sits upon the floor must rise from the floor, and a body that rises from the floor a dozen times a day keeps a strength in the legs and the hips that no chair-bound body will ever know. She kneels among her few vegetables, and stands and kneels again. She hangs her washing on the line and brings it in. She walks to the home of a friend, to the temple, to tend the family grave. She has somewhere to go and someone to see, and a reason to rise each morning. And that reason carries her body out the door and keeps it moving. Do you see it now? Not one of these is exercise. Not one of them would impress a young man in a gymnasium. There is no special clothing, no equipment, no membership, no single heroic hour. There is only a life arranged so that movement is simply unavoidable, woven into the gaps of the day 100 small times over, instead of squeezed into one slot and then forgotten. That is the real reason. That is the whole of it. Frequency, not fury. A life in motion, not an hour of it. I think often of my own mother. She lived to be 91 years old, and until very near the very end, she swept her own floors, tended her own little garden, and walked each day to the small shrine at the top of our street. A steep little climb that left me out of breath as a girl. I asked her once, when she was already past 80, why she did not rest more and let others do the carrying. She looked at me as though I had said something very foolish indeed, and she said, "If I sit down for good, Keiko, I will not get up again." She was right. The day we stop moving is the day the body begins, slowly, to close the door. My mother simply never let it close. And now, I want to speak to those of you who are listening and feeling, perhaps, that it is already too late. That the strength is gone, that the knees ache, that the years for this have passed you by. Please hear me. It is not too late. The body is willing to listen at any age, but you must be gentle with it, and you must be patient, and you must begin where your body is today, and not where it was at 30. If you have not moved much in a long while, or if your health is fragile, then before you change a single thing, speak with your doctor. Truly, please do. And then begin small. So small that it feels like almost nothing at all. That is not weakness. That is the wisdom of the tortoise who, you will remember, won the race. The smallest movement, repeated faithfully every day, will always defeat the grand plan that you abandon in a week. So let me bring all of this down, at last, into your own life. Your Western life, with its cars and its lifts and its comfortable waiting chairs. You cannot move to Tokyo, and you do not need to. You need only begin, quietly, to put the movement back where convenience took it out. When there is a lift and a staircase beside it, take the staircase, even if only for one floor. When you drive somewhere, park a little farther from the door and walk the rest of the way. Carry your own shopping in from the car, in 2 trips if you must, rather than wishing the bags were lighter. Once a day, walk a small errand you would normally drive to. The post, the corner shop, the home of a neighbour. When you have been sitting a long while, make a small habit of rising. Every half hour or so, simply stand and walk to the window and back. It is enough. While the kettle boils, do not wait for it sitting down. Move about your kitchen. Wash a few dishes with your own 2 hands. And here is one I would beg you to try. Gently and carefully, and only if your body allows it. Each day, lower yourself down to sit upon the floor and rise back up again, just a few times, holding to a sturdy chair if you have need of it. It is one of the very finest things an aging body can do, and it costs nothing at all. None of these will impress a single soul, and that is exactly the point. They are small enough that you will actually keep doing them, and it is the keeping that protects you, not the grandness of it. 100 small movements every day for the rest of your life. That is the secret the West forgot, and the one that Japan never gave away. So if you carry away one single thing from our time together today, let it be this. A long and a strong old age has far less to do with how hard you train, or how perfectly you eat, or what blood you happen to be born with, and far more to do with how little you sit. Stand more. Walk the small distances. Rise up from the floor. Treat the ordinary movements of your day not as chores to be escaped from, but as the quiet, faithful things that are keeping you upon your own 2 feet. I would dearly love to hear from you now. Tell me in the comments just below. What is one small movement that is already a part of your day? Or what did your own mother or your father do well into their old age that kept them strong? I read them, every one, and I treasure them. And if you would like to keep these little movements close to you, all of them, with the gentle way to begin each one at any age, I have gathered them together into a small guide linked just below for any who would care to have it. There is no need. Everything I have shared with you today is yours to keep, freely. But it is there, should you wish for it. If this calmer, more honest way of looking at growing older is something you would like more of, do subscribe and stay a while with me. There is so much more that I wish to share. Until next time, stand a little more. Sit a little less, and be gentle with yourself, and with your good and faithful body. This is your Japanese grandmother, Keiko, wishing you a long and a steady and a peaceful life.